This is the story of how Sherrone Moore went from being the University of Michigan's first African-American head football coach to being arrested and placed in mental health custody, all within 24 hours. On December 10th, 2025, Moore was fired with cause for an inappropriate relationship with a staff member, and hours later, a 911 call alleged he had attacked a woman at her home after months of stalking. Understanding how high Sherrone Moore had climbed makes the fall that much more devastating, so let's start at the beginning. The rise. Football didn't enter Sherrone Moore's life until junior year of high school in Darby, Kansas. Born February 3rd, 1986, he wasn't a child prodigy or a blue-chip recruit, just a late bloomer who played at Butler County Community College before landing at the University of Oklahoma. During the 2006 and 2007 seasons, he played offensive line under Bob Stoops, and after graduating with a degree in communications in 2008, Moore knew his future belonged on the sidelines, not the field. Louisville gave him his start as a graduate assistant working with the offense from 2009 to 2011, while he earned his master's in sports administration. Central Michigan University hired him in 2014 to coach tight ends, and by 2017, he'd climbed to assistant head coach and recruiting coordinator, building a reputation as someone who could develop players and bring in talent. When the University of Michigan came calling in 2018, Moore's career trajectory changed completely. Jim Harbaugh brought him in as tight ends coach, and 3 years later promoted him to co-offensive coordinator and offensive line coach, which is when the accolades started piling up. Michigan's offensive line won the Joe Moore Award in both 2021 and 2022 under Moore's coaching, an honor given to the best offensive line in the entire country. Becoming the first school to win it back-to-back since the award's creation in 2015 wasn't luck, it was elite coaching. Moore mentored multiple All-Americans and future NFL draft picks, produced 3 straight 1,000-yard rushers in Hassan Haskins in 2021, and Blake Corum in both 2022 and 2023, and in 2023 became a finalist for the Broyles Award, given to the top assistant coach in all of college football. But Moore's real audition for the head coaching job came during the 2023 season, under circumstances that would foreshadow later problems. The acting head coach. Multiple suspensions hit Jim Harbaugh in 2023, and in Week 3, Moore stepped in as acting head coach against Bowling Green and won. Later, when the sign-stealing scandal rocked Michigan football, Moore took over for the final 3 regular season games and went 3-0, beating number 10 Penn State 24-15, Maryland 31-24, and number 2 Ohio State 30-24. These weren't just wins, they were statement victories. Michigan was under intense scrutiny, facing accusations that former staffer Connor Stalions had been running an elaborate sign-stealing operation, and the program was in crisis. Moore steadied the ship. There's a detail here that matters now. Moore had deleted a 52-message text thread with Connor Stalions in October 2023, though he later produced the recovered messages to the NCAA, and according to reports, they contained no incriminating information. But Moore was already operating in the gray areas of controversy. January 26, 2024 brought the announcement that Moore would become Michigan's 21st head football coach. The 5-year, $27.5 million contract made him the first African-American head coach in University of Michigan history, a massive moment not just for Moore but for the program and for representation in college football. His annual salary broke down to about $5.5 to $6.11 million, depending on the source, which included a base salary between $500,000 and $510,000 with additional compensation, making up the bulk plus a $500,000 retention bonus each season. Among Big Ten coaches, he ranked 14th out of 18, and nationally, he was the 40th highest paid coach in college football. The buyout was set at $13.89 million as of December 1st, 2025, calculated as 75% of his remaining base and additional compensation, which made it the second lowest buyout among all listed Big Ten coaches. That detail is going to matter. Year 1 as head coach. Moore's first season as head coach in 2024 was solid by most standards, finishing 8-5 with wins that included the ReliaQuest Bowl against Alabama. beating number 2, Ohio State in Columbus, retaining all 4 rivalry trophies and becoming the first Michigan head coach since Benny Oosterbaugh in 1948 to defeat Michigan State in his first year weren't fluky victories. Moore was proving he could handle the pressure of being a head coach at one of college football's biggest programs. November 2024 brought the commitment of Bryce Underwood, the number 1 overall ranked high school recruit in the country, a quarterback whose signing was considered a major recruiting victory and a sign that Moore could compete for top talent against anyone. Fallout from the sign-stealing scandal continued, though. Michigan suspended him for 2 games during the 2025 season as part of self-imposed sanctions, and the NCAA added a 3rd game to his suspension, which would have kept him off the sideline for the 2026 season opener against Western Michigan. Moore had also served a 1-game suspension in 2023 related to a separate recruiting infractions case. Moore entered the 2025 season with baggage but also with momentum. Year 2 and the cracks. The 2025 season started under a cloud with Moore serving his 2-game suspension, and Biff Poggi, who would later become crucial to this story, served as acting head coach during those games. Moore returned and the Wolverines finished the regular season at 9-3, beating Ohio State 13-10 as 20.5-point underdogs and winning all 4 rivalry games. On paper, it looked like Moore was building something sustainable, but ESPN's Pete Thamel would later reveal that something had been off for weeks. Hours after Moore was fired on December 10th, Thamel appeared on SportsCenter and dropped this. This is something that's been percolating at Michigan for the last couple weeks. There had been a lot of uneasiness on the Michigan staff. Sources had told me Sherrone Moore had been acting strange, berating assistant coaches, not acting in a normal way. Thamel explained that an initial investigation had started earlier in the fall after an anonymous tip came in, but that first investigation found no credible evidence of wrongdoing, and things seemed to quiet down toward the end of the regular season. According to Thamel, though, the situation percolated back up within the last week. And that's when everything exploded on December 10th. December 10th, the firing. 4:43 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, December 10th, 2025, brought a statement from the University of Michigan that read, head football coach Sherrone Moore has been terminated, with cause, effective immediately. Following a university investigation, credible evidence was found that Coach Moore engaged in an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. This conduct constitutes a clear violation of university policy, and maintains zero tolerance for such behavior. The statement was remarkably specific. Athletic Director Ward Manuel said directly that the conduct constitutes a clear violation of university policy, and maintains zero tolerance for such behavior. Pete Thamel noted something unusual. It is rare you get a statement like the one Michigan had, being as explicit as they are, saying it was an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. Multiple reports identified the staff member as an executive assistant to the head coach who had worked for the Wolverines for years. A name trended on social media, Paige Shiver, but the university never officially confirmed the identity, and the alleged staff member reportedly deleted several social media accounts following the news. What matters most here is the phrase, with cause. This wasn't a buyout situation where Moore would negotiate a settlement and walk away with millions. A for cause termination means Michigan believed they had grounds to fire Moore without paying his buyout, which was roughly $13.89 million. With 3 years remaining on his contract, approximately $12.3 to $13.89 million vanished in an instant. Biff Poggi was immediately named interim head coach. Michigan was scheduled to play Texas in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl on December 31st, and the program was in chaos. But the day wasn't over. The 911 call. 30 minutes before the university announced Moore's firing, Pittsfield Township Police responded to a 911 call at 4:10 p.m. Eastern Time at the 3000 block of Ann Arbor Saline Road for an alleged assault investigation. TMZ obtained the dispatch audio from Broadcastify, and what it revealed was shocking. A woman claimed Moore attacked her at her home on Wednesday after stalking her for months. The call came from a Michigan football employee's address in Ann Arbor, Michigan, though it's unclear from the audio whether the woman making the call was the alleged victim or if the incident occurred at her residence. The dispatch audio indicated the suspect was possibly suicidal, and the audio mentioned it was related to losing his job today, though that part was difficult to make out clearly. The report mentioned that the suspect had a knife. He was in a black Chevy Tahoe, and a University of Michigan detective was either heading to the location or already there. 5:03 p.m. brought Saline Police dispatch to the Well Church at the corner of Ann Arbor Street and Willis Road. By 5:10 p.m., Pittsfield Township Police were en route to Saline. Saline Police Department initially detained Moore, then turned him over to Pittsfield Township Police Department. 8:30 p.m., Sherrone Moore was booked into Washtenaw County Jail. In custody, Pittsfield Township Police released a statement saying, "This incident does not appear to be random in nature, and there appears to be no ongoing threat to the community." Local news reports indicated Moore was placed in mental health protective custody overnight, which tracks with the 911 dispatch audio that had mentioned suicidal statements and concerns about self-harm noted in police communications. Thursday, December 11th saw Moore remaining in custody while the Washtenaw County Prosecutor's Office announced that no charging decision was expected that day. Their statement read, "The matter involving Mr. Moore remains under active investigation by law enforcement. Mr. Moore remains in custody at the Washtenaw County Jail. As this remains an active investigation, we are unable to comment further at this time." Moore's arraignment was scheduled for Friday, December 12th, pending paperwork arriving at the court based on the latest information available. No criminal charges have been filed yet, and the investigation continues. What we know and don't know. Let's be clear about what's verified and what's speculation. What we know: Moore was fired for cause for an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. Hours later, a 911 call alleged he attacked a woman after stalking her for months. Moore was arrested and placed in custody, and he was reportedly in mental health protective custody due to concerns about suicidal statements. What we don't know, the exact nature of the inappropriate relationship, whether the staff member involved in the firing is the same person as the alleged victim in the 911 call, what specific charges, if any, will be filed, and the full details of what happened on December 10th. The identity of the staff member has not been officially confirmed by the university, despite names trending on social media, and as one UK report put it, online speculation has outpaced verifiable fact. The human cost. Sherrone Moore is 39 years old, married to Kelly Moore, his wife of 10 years. They got engaged in December 2014 and married in July 2015, celebrating their 10th wedding anniversary this year. 3 daughters share their home: Shiloh, born in 2019, Soleil, born in 2022, and Sadie, whose birth date hasn't been publicly shared. Kelly was a college athlete herself, a soccer goalie at Center College in Kentucky, and the Moores were known for being private, rarely appearing in the public spotlight. In a November post about the Broyles Award, Moore wrote about his family, though the full quote wasn't available in the research. Whatever happened on December 10th didn't just destroy a coaching career, it potentially destroyed a family. 3 young daughters now have to process their father being arrested and all over the news, and a wife has to figure out what comes next. And if the allegations in the 911 call are true, there's a victim whose life has been upended, someone who allegedly dealt with months of stalking and feared for their safety enough to call 911. The bigger picture: college football has a pattern of protecting powerful men, and for decades, coaches have survived allegations that would end careers in most professions. The power dynamics in major college programs are extreme, with head coaches controlling budgets, hiring, firing, and the careers of dozens of people, while staff members, especially lower-level employees, have almost no leverage. Michigan's statement was unusually explicit, not hiding behind vague language about violations of policy or conduct unbecoming. They specifically said inappropriate relationship with a staff member. They said credible evidence. They said zero tolerance. That explicitness suggests Michigan felt they had ironclad evidence. But it also raises questions about what they knew and when they knew it. Remember, there was an initial investigation in the fall of 2025 after an anonymous tip, and that investigation found no credible evidence. Then new information came forward on December 10th that was described as overwhelming, leading to immediate dismissal. What was that new information? Why didn't the first investigation find it? And how long had this been going on? Pete Tamel reported that Moore had been acting strange, berating assistant coaches, not acting in a normal way for weeks. If staff members noticed behavioral changes, did anyone flag it to athletic department leadership? Or was everyone too afraid to speak up about the head coach? The legal battle ahead. Moore's career is over, and even if criminal charges aren't filed or if he's acquitted, no major program will hire him. The stigma is permanent, but the legal battle over his contract is just beginning. Michigan claims they fired him with cause, meaning they owe him nothing, and Moore's remaining contract was worth approximately $12.3 to $13.89 million. If Moore believes Michigan didn't have grounds for a for-cause termination, he can sue, and these cases often drag through the courts for years. Universities typically argue contractual violations while coaches push for negotiated settlements. The standard in for-cause firings is whether the conduct violated the morals clause or other specific provisions in the employment agreement. Michigan clearly believes they meet that standard, though whether a court agrees is a different question. Moore also had an obligation in his contract to seek alternative employment, with any earnings offsetting Michigan's payments. But that's now a moot point if Michigan successfully argues they owe him nothing. And that's before we even get to the potential criminal case. If charges are filed based on the allegations in the 911 call, stalking and assault are serious crimes, and Moore could face prison time. His entire life could be over, not just his coaching career. Michigan moves forward. Michigan is now unexpectedly on the coaching market, and the timing is terrible. Most major coaching positions were already filled, with LSU, Penn State, and Florida all having hired their coaches already. The carousel had mostly stopped spinning, but Michigan is one of the biggest jobs in college football. The Wolverines just won a national championship in 2023. They have resources, tradition, facilities, and recruiting advantages, which means they'll have their pick of candidates. Biff Poggi will coach the bowl game against Texas on December 31st, though whether he's a candidate for the permanent position is unknown. He went 2-0 as acting coach during Moore's suspension this season, but he's 63 years old and hasn't been a head coach at the FBS level. Michigan will want someone with a proven track record, someone with no baggage, someone who can restore stability and trust to a program that's now dealt with a sign-stealing scandal and a head coach fired and arrested in the span of 2 years. The questions that remain: how did Sherrone Moore go from being a respected offensive line coach to this? Was it the pressure of being a head coach? Was it something personal in his life? Or was this behavior new? Or had there been warning signs for years? If the inappropriate relationship violated university policy, what was the nature of that relationship? Was it consensual but violated rules about supervisor-employee relationships? Or was it something darker? If the allegations in the 911 call are accurate, that Moore stalked someone for months and then attacked them, how did no one notice? How did he coach a football team, manage a staff, recruit players, and conduct himself publicly while allegedly engaging in this behavior privately? And what happens to the staff member at the center of this? Whether they're the same person as the alleged victim in the 911 call or someone different, their life is permanently changed. Their privacy is gone, their name is being discussed online, and they may never work in college athletics again, through no fault of their own. Conclusion: this is the story of how Sherrone Moore went from being the University of Michigan's first African-American head football coach to being arrested and placed in mental health custody, all within 24 hours. It's a story about power and accountability, about what happens when institutions fail to protect the vulnerable people working within them, and about how success on the field can mask darkness off it. Moore made history when he was hired and was supposed to be a role model, supposed to represent progress. Instead, he'll be remembered for how spectacularly and devastatingly his tenure ended. Moore remains in custody pending arraignment. As of now, the prosecutor's investigation continues and no criminal charges have been filed. Michigan has moved on with Biff Poggi as interim coach. Whatever the full truth turns out to be, one thing is clear. December 10th, 2025, will be remembered as one of the darkest days in University of Michigan athletics history. And for Sherrone Moore, it was the day everything fell apart.